All right, Happy New Year, my friends. Um, I thought that I would just do a really quick video to start the year. I'm not really a New Year's resolution type person, but it got me to thinking this morning when I finally started working out again, which I have probably haven't worked out in a couple of months. And I just got to thinking, what are we doing all this for? If we have, if we have all this money, but we don't have our health and we don't have relationships with our friends, family, whatever. And I'm more of a loner person anyway, but I do like to interact. But I was just thinking, if we don't, we could just have all the money in the world and none of it would matter if by the time that you finally got it, you just sat around being lazy all the time. And I've been there before. I was talking with somebody just the other day. I said, I thought I wouldn't change. And overall, my personality, my, uh, you know, desire to help people did not change when I got money. And I lost some of that money and I gained some of it back. That's another story. But I just wanted to say that it really doesn't matter. You might as well not have any money at all if you're not going to have your health, if you're not going to have your relationships, if you're not going to have drive to do things. And I just wanted to put that more positive message out there to get people motivated. And I could say this all day, but if you don't do it yourself, you're not going to get out there and and really strive to do something great. And it doesn't have to be something, newsworthy. I'm just saying, even a small gesture of kindness throughout the day, a smile to somebody can change their whole day. Uh, so, just love one another. That would be my message right now. It's not about New Year's resolutions, although it's very important to take care of your body and your mind. But anyway, that out of the way, I just wanted to talk about Bitcoin real quick because it definitely does matter in regards to us wanting our altcoins to move. And I know some of them pulled back, probably most of them pulled back today, even after pushing up a bit. But we've seen that a lot, right? Where Bitcoin will have a good push and then altcoins might rise a little bit, but by the time Bitcoin hits that next resistance level, it wants to pull back some. And so the alts pull back with it and they pull back more than what Bitcoin would. And usually it's like two or three times what Bitcoin did as far as the pullback. So I just wanted to kind of look at some macro real quick and then look at a couple other things like what was it? I think it was dominance and ETH BTC, stuff like that. And I've got three other projects I'm going to be working on a video for, kind of like I did with Metrozenth, whatever it is, XMH. I never can remember the three letters of that one. But a lot of you reacted positively to those type of videos, and I had one person ask me to make more videos. So apparently somebody out there is enjoying the content, so I want to do more of it as I have time. I work full time, but anyway, I'm going to go into this real quick and try to make this a real fast video. Here is Bitcoin currently on the left screen or the left window, and here is Bitcoin in 2012. 28 to 2011, it didn't really, there weren't many charts to find, I guess, but 2011 it finally started showing up. And I just want to show how this same pattern shows up over and over from low time frames to high time frames. And if we can figure out about where it's going to top out, of course, I like using order blocks too and fibs, but I just wanted to show what this looks like. And so this whole pattern here from top to bottom, actually, if I just put fibs on it, it'll be easier for you to see. So I'm pulling the fibs from top to bottom there. I believe it's going to come up to here, this like 786 area, about 50K. I always figured 47 to 50K was going to be the point that it hit. And that is an order block right there. There's also another order block here, just above 786. So it could wick to that. But if you start running your fibs on these tops to bottoms, you can see right here, there is a pullback that happens before the big move up. So there's two scenarios that can happen here, by the way. And I don't really know that I believe the second one, but I have seen it talked about on Twitter. The most obvious setup is the one that keeps happening, the 4-year cycle, where we come up here, we have a pretty good move off the bottom, and then kind of near the top here of the previous cycle, near the all-time high, you get some kind of flush or some kind of rejection at the 786 fib, maybe just a little bit above it. It almost hits that 88 fib. And then once that happens and the weak hands are gotten rid of and flushed out, then you have that big move up, and that's the 4-year cycle. It ends right there at the top. And then you just start the whole thing over again. Here's the top, here's the bottom. Actually, this one didn't quite hit the 786, but it did hit the golden pocket there, which happens sometimes. And then that was more of a flat correction. It didn't come down as much. It came up and retested. We're kind of making this pattern right now on a smaller time frame. You know, you got this move up and it popped above it just like it did here. I'll get into the micro here more in a second, but this is what I mean by the patterns repeating over and over. This is kind of sideways action, although it went up a little bit, and then you got this pop above. But one thing I'm going to talk about is you got to be careful that this isn't some kind of, oops, this isn't some kind of deviation above the range, and then it comes back in and rejects like that. And then finally we get that flush right there. Because you're probably getting a lot of people right now that are jumping in here at the top thinking we're about to pump and that it's the full bull market. But just remember that there is always a dip, you know, a significant one anyway, prior to the halving. I mean, that's how it happens on all 4-year cycles. So we might as well just expect it's going to happen and then adjust accordingly if it doesn't. So the other option is, and again, I'm not fully on board with this, and although it can happen, that option would be that we skip this entirely, and I'll show you another. Okay, here's another good one. So this was the top in 2013. Pull the fib to the bottom. We rejected the 786, a little bit above it, just temporarily, and then took off. And I wonder, yeah, this happened already. So here's another thing to look at. I don't know if this is really going to look as good. Probably won't in this case. I'll wait to show this line here on something else. But basically what you're looking at is, you know, maybe this would be this area, and then this here, this sideways would be this area. And actually, this one did have a pretty good correction prior to that. It's almost like a March 2020 dip back here in 2013 because it came back down to kind of retest this spring breakout. And then, you know, once you get your rejection, you move up. Happens a couple of times sometimes. You know, you get a 20, 30, 40% pullback, and then it just wipes out all the leverage. It wipes out all, you know, even spot holders, it wipes them out thinking it's the end of the run. And then you resume the bull market after the halving usually. You just move on here because this is more, you know, that's really volatile price action. And as we've gone along, it's gotten less and less volatile. So here's the pull from top to bottom. I don't know if I want to use that bottom one there. Let's see. Well, that did hit the 786. Let me just see what happens if I pull that. Yeah, it still got close to the 786. We'll just use this one. And I think, do I want to show that? I want to pull this line on one of these and just see what it looks like on these other patterns. So this is 2015, 2016 area, and you got your pull from top to bottom. And then if we look at some of the patterns here, you could just say this whole thing, even this sideways action here, is all of this. Yeah, that would make more sense. And then it popped up to the 786, which is kind of right here at this right shoulder that happened right at the previous high, at the macro high. And you could either say it's this one or you could say it's that one. I mean, it could even come up to here, I guess, to 60K, but you know, we'll watch it and see what happens as it transpires. But it definitely came up to the 786, which is at least almost 48K. So my base case right now is, I mean, I'm bullish currently, just so you know, but my base case is somewhere in this zone. So that would be anywhere from you know, roughly 48, maybe just a bit under it, to 52. And this completely aligns with something I said about a month ago on Twitter. I said, what was it, 48K? No, sorry, 47K to 52K is what I was looking for my zone. And that was probably based on fibs plus order block. So this line right here, and just by the way, I mean, that's where we would be watching, or at least I will be watching. This is not financial advice. I'd be watching to see if Bitcoin gets a pretty good rejection, or if I see market structure starting to show up where we're getting lower highs, lower lows, then I'll know that, you know, altcoins may start taking a dip. But this line that I wanted to get to, let me just see how it works out here. This is more of a approximation than anything. I'm just trying to find, I guess you could do this. Yeah, this would make sense. It just happens over and over. I mean, you could take another line right here and say, okay, there's going to be another rejection right there somewhere as well. And if you take it on the flip side and say this, these little flushes happen where it rejects, comes down, goes sideways, breaks out, retests, takes off. Same thing, rejects, sideways, breaks out, retests the line. So that happens over and over all the time. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it before. It's even right here as well. You just can't tell as much. That's a retest. And then there was another one right here, retest. And see how that forms. People talk about a bull flag all the time. Here's, well, really, you'd put the line further back here, but if you take this whole line, it's a flagpole, and there's a bull flag. You could do another one here, bull flag. Anyway, you get the point. Macro, this is very easy to see. In real time, it's extremely difficult to see. Nobody's going to call the exact top. So what was I getting at here? Let me get rid of this stuff. And so we got our line, we got our rejection. Here's this. Here is, which one do I want to take? Let's get rid of that one. Yeah, so here was the sideways action, which is basically this curl up right here was this curl up, I believe. And see how see how we have these little areas right here that look very similar to this. And I even talked about this like a week or two ago before it even happened, thinking that we were either here or we were right here. And I still see it. These patterns don't play out exactly the same, but I still think that that's a possibility, that that's exactly what happens. I don't think it's this that we're at currently, because I think this has already happened. Let me just check something here. And I'm making this video longer than I wanted to, really. And that kind of makes sense right there, just the way it looks. So if that was to happen, and the prices don't match all the time. In fact, this could have been a deviation. Normally it may have done something like this. This would have been more normal, and it went much higher. And with the ETF situation, that's the only reason I would even consider this other idea, that we just keep going, that it even just temporarily rejects the 60K and then breaks all-time high. And normally I would say that news is used to sell the news, but it just seems like there's a concentrated effort to get a ton of retail in. And so far it doesn't, to me anyway, it doesn't look like we pull up Google Trends here and type in Bitcoin. To me, it just doesn't seem like, I haven't looked at this in a while. It doesn't seem like there's many people searching for it yet. Let's see. That's the past day. Let's look at the past maybe 90 days. Yeah, it's trending up, but it's like, if we look at, I don't know. Okay. So here was 2017 bull run. Here is 2021 bull run plus November. So there was 2 peaks there. And you could even use this thing to find tops, I think. But the thing I find interesting is, and for whatever reason, the interest is waning. So maybe we get another big, spike like this because of the ETF approval. But so far, it's just barely trending up. Let's see. What would we compare this to? We could just be in this area. Yeah, that would make sense. Where you have these pushes up and then a rejection and then another push up and rejection and then finally a blast off. It's kind of what happened here. But to me, at the very least, if you were to pull up the Wall Street cheat sheet thing where it talks about depression phase, in fact, let's see, maybe I can bring this up here. You can see, you can see how these videos get out of hand. You start thinking about other things and it goes much longer than you think. Sorry, I'm just pulling up something here. All right, here we go. See if I can overlay this. No, I got to bring this thing over. Notice how, okay, here's your peak, here's your peak. Let's see. There we go. So there's that thing, there's this thing. You go all the way to the bottom, and then you do some kind of little W down there. That one's a little bit harder to see. I think it might be this whole thing, though. Yeah. And then you go all the way down for another bottom. And I think that might be what happened here for depression. And now we're starting to work on disbelief, possibly. It's either that or hope. It's really difficult to know for sure. But from a 4-year cycle standpoint, the disbelief idea makes sense to where, we're coming up. I don't know, maybe disbelief's over actually. And we're working on hope. Yeah, I guess hope does make more sense now that I think about it. I haven't really looked at this in a while, but anyway, you get the idea there. Um, what else do I want to say here? So yeah, I mean, we could be here, pop out of it, have a pretty good move. If we're not here, then we're here, and we got one more push up, and then we'll get some kind of idea as to whether we are starting to get at least temporary bearish. Because remember, that's just a temporary thing, and it doesn't last. Anyway, I'm bullish right now. We'll see what happens as weeks go along. We'll jump over to ETH BTC. There is a swing failure that happened here. It already touched it once. Could come down one more time, but I think there's a chance it could just hold here as well at this previous support area that it broke back above. And if this holds on ETH BTC and it takes off again, then alts take off. And you can see from the, you know what, let me bring one thing here side by side. I just want to see what this pattern looks like real quick. It's not a good example. Well, we'll just look at Bitcoin. Yeah, this works. I'm just trying to match up a pattern here. So if I draw my trend line before the breakout, something like that, maybe down here. That's close enough. That looks like, and that's hard to tell. It's not really the same exact pattern is the problem. Oh, I know what I'll do. This kind of works. Okay, there's the retest. I think there's a possibility that this thing has finally bottomed out. Yeah, this is a Bitcoin pair, so it's not gonna, I mean, look how similar this looks to that. Yeah, so we may, let me just go down to a really low time frame. There's this thing pops out. Yeah, see how that pops up above and then retests and then takes off? I think there's a chance we're going to see something like that up here. And if that happens, then obviously the ETH USDT pair, I mean, it's already been going up, but that chart there was just comparing ETH to the strength of Bitcoin, basically. Yeah, I think it's just that ETH is running into a lot of this choppiness that Bitcoin ran into before. And we're probably going to see ETH at least come up to this order block here, 3505. Anyway, I don't really care about ETH. I just use it as a barometer for the market or for the altcoin market anyway. And then just briefly, total market cap. a daily. Same thing. It's, there's not really any resistance here. And it's going to break through that eventually and get up here to this order block, I believe, at 1.25 trillion or 1.22, right in there. Yeah, I mean, on the lower time frames, it's obviously bullish. As long as we stay above, 790 billion on total 2, we're fine. We just don't want to start seeing lower lows. And then we've got, what is this, total 3, same thing, almost looks identical. In fact, there's that we were just talking about. Like here's your, I don't know, here's your flag pole. And then right here is your flag. So it's just a bull flag that broke out, and now it's retesting it. And then we've got dominance. Yeah, look, this is really interesting to me. I mean, look at this exact, I already had this trend line drawn. Look at this exact retest it's doing right now on dominance. We definitely want to see it stop around here somewhere. It doesn't have to stop exactly here, but this is why we're seeing the altcoins bleed a little bit right now and do a retest of their breakout. Is we're going to get a, I think it probably just moves up a little bit more, or you know what, maybe it's there. And it could even come up to here, I guess, somewhere. But I just see this as a retest of some sort of a breakdown, and then it's going to roll over some more. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up real quick. I've got videos coming up on QUBIC, which I'm really high on. Fidium and MOG is a meme coin. Fidium is a DeFi. But yeah, I'll work something up on those. I don't know how quick I can get them out because it's a busy work week for me. And that's a lot of the reason that I talk fast when I'm on these. But I'll get them put together and just talk about why I'm big on them and stuff like that. I actually, just to say real quick, I am in QUBIC. It's one of my bigger holdings, mostly because the person that runs it, Come From Beyond, was one of the first 3 people to mine Bitcoin, and he's huge in the space. I'm trying to remember which coin. I don't want to say it wrong, but I think, was it IOTA? I think he created IOTA. And then Fidium, I'm not in. MOG, I'm not in. I want to study those some more first. Okay, I'm going to end it there. We'll do another one real soon. Y'all have a good one.